Welcome back to another edition of the Interlake Sports Now. I'm Josh Dugan, and thank you as always for checking out the show. This week we have some headlines to kick things off, a new version of our prep roundup where we're going to highlight a few games of the week and then move into the rest of the roundup, plus some news regarding the Grizzlies football team and their coaching staff. Plus, as always, we'll highlight our prep players of the week. Before we get to all that fun stuff, reminder, today's episode is brought to you by Nomad. Vote the Flathead's best manufacturer. Nomad is a longtime supporter of the local community and sports scene, celebrating 20 years of building great careers in mission-focused custom vehicles. Nomad, a Montana-based company making a global impact. Visit nomadgcs.com for more info. That's nomadgcs.com for more information. Remember, you can subscribe to the Daily Interlake e-edition to get all your local news right at your fingertips. Go to dailyinterlake.com for more information. All right, thank you to everybody for tuning in. A little less of a jam-packed show than last week with all the crosstown action. That one was nuts, but we're going to roll right into some headlines today. We do have a fun prep roundup and a little bit of Griz news, so we'll get into all that. Just a heads up, do have a Griz/Bobcats off-season football show cooking up. Hopefully going to have that next week, and I get Fritz Neighbor of the Daily Interlake in here to talk some Cats, talk some Griz, get in on the National Signing Day next week, recruiting stuff, transfer portal, all the fun stuff. All right, well, let's dive into the headlines, and we'll keep it rolling into the prep roundup. Our first headline of the day is some exciting news regarding the Glacier Wolfpack tennis coach, Josh Munro, who was recently named the 2021-2022 National Tennis Coach of the Year by the National Federation of State High School Associations. Coaches Association, that's quite the name there they have for their voting group. The National Federation of State High School Associations Coaches Association. Just one more time. Glacier's athletic director, Mark Danahy, released this statement via email regarding Monroe's accomplishments. We are excited to announce that Josh has been selected as the National Tennis Coach of the Year. Josh is the first National Coach of the Year since we opened almost 16 years ago. The honor is well-deserved for Josh's commitment to this program and tennis in the state of Montana and beyond. So, from a once-in-a-lifetime accomplishment, congratulations to Monroe of the Glacier Tennis Program. Awesome stuff to be selected National Coach of the Year. There is a lot of tennis programs out there, so it really puts into perspective how hard that is to accomplish. And from one lifetime, once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing to another, let's jump into the Ronin girls and boys basketball team, who we talked about before on the show. They recently went to Alaska, won a trip up there to play in a basketball tournament, the girls and the boys. Awesome stuff. We have a little recap of that trip. This article is from Brandon Hansen of the Lake County Leader, and it's titled Trip of a Lifetime, Maidens and Chiefs Travel to Alaska. The Ronin boys and girls basketball teams had a once-in-a-lifetime experience playing in the Alaska Airlines Classic last week. Not only did the Chiefs and Maidens become the first Montana teams to ever play and win in Alaska at the tourney, but they also put up some confidence-building performances against schools 3 to 4 times their size. The journey began last year when Ronan hosted a Zoom call with the filmmakers of the documentary Alaska Nets. After holding a fundraiser at the Ronan High School featuring the documentary, they were named a finalist in a contest to win a trip to Alaska. During the Zoom call, the school held a pep assembly to show why the school should be chosen out over 1,000 schools. We discussed this on the show before. Pretty crazy to be chosen out of 1,000 schools, so very special opportunity for Ronan, and they made the most of it. So during the call, it was announced that both basketball teams had won the trip to Anchorage. Here's a quote from girls basketball coach Steve Wool. There were a lot of firsts up there. We were the first Ronin team to play in Alaska, the first team to have a shot clock up there. It was absolutely amazing. The people there were so nice to us, and they really treated us like royalty. Ronin also played in front of 2,000 fans for one game when West Anchorage brought all of their school and community to the matchup. Wool said, since both schools had the same colors and fight songs, it almost felt like a home game. The place was going nuts, quote, said Wool. The place was going nuts. It was like a divisional or state atmosphere-like game. Lots of kids don't get that atmosphere. Overall, Alaska played amazing hosts to the visiting athletes. Quote, West Anchorage did a great job accommodating us with gym time, a room for film. They did our laundry, offered us space for dinner. Anything we needed, they were sure to provide, said Chiefs head coach DJ Fish. They did an awesome job, and we appreciate everything. Getting up to Alaska was unlike any other road trip in Montana. Fish noted that Alaska felt much like Montana and said the kids were stoked to travel and represent Ronin. The girls traveled to Alaska as their tournament started earlier. They contended with the 3-hour time zone change and much less sunlight during the day. Quote, there were a lot of connections up there to Montana. Lots of people knowing or related to people in Montana, Wool said. Lots of Montana Griz gear up there. The Ronin boys' buses left at 3 a.m. to go to the airport for the flight up to Anchorage. After landing and checking into the hotel, Captain Cook, the boys watched the girls play and then had Moose's Tooth's pizza, very Alaska right there. And I'm not sure if anyone awake by the time the bed checks came around, Fish said. I can only imagine. That had to be a draining trip all the way to Alaska, and then you have to go play, so that's something else. The girls spent free time riding a gondola on a ski mountain, driving along the Alaskan coast, and going to the zoo. Practices were held in the mornings, and they played their games at night after sightseeing. Wool said that this helped keep the kids on their regular internal clocks. What an absolutely unbelievable experience. I mentioned this before on the show, but it's like you go out, you play a basketball tournament, that's always going to be special. You do something with your teammates, that's always going to be special. To go on a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Alaska, a place realistically most people don't make it to. That is awesome, and it sounds like they have the opportunity to make the most of it. As for the boys team, they checked out the downtown area and purchased souvenirs when they weren't playing basketball. The Chiefs also ate at local eateries, explored the mall, and did some sightseeing at Beluga Point. They also drove to Flat Top, which overlooked Anchorage, nearby mountains, and the ocean. Overall, the trip was great, Fish said. I don't think I'll ever have another experience like it as a coach, and I'm not sure if many of these guys will have it as high school players. The staff at the tournament were sure to thank us, and we're very appreciative of how well our guys conducted themselves. Our coaching staff and players appreciate everyone who had a hand in making this possible, and thank those who keep working hard at it. Both coaches felt that the competition and the team bonding would help the Chiefs and Maidens in the home stretch of the Class A season. Wool said the experience showed the players what it's like being a traveling professional athlete, and that it created a lifetime of memories, friendships, and acquaintances on other teams. Overall, we just have a big thank you for everybody involved in this effort, Wool said. Awesome stuff from the Ronin basketball program. So cool to see them take that journey and share it with the world, share it with the local community. Like I said, once in a lifetime opportunity. I hope someday I get to go up to Alaska, see all that, let alone have the experience of playing with your teammates and going with your team. There's such a close bond between teammates. It's like a family-like environment. So that's just such a special opportunity for these kids. Looking back, I can only imagine what my reaction would have been like that as a young person playing sports. So, congratulations to all of them on that. What an awesome time. And thank you to Brandon Hansen of the Lake County Leader for the story. So let's move it along from the headlines. Let's get into the prep roundup. We're going to try something new. Like I said, break it up a little bit. We'll get into our games of the week first, and then we'll get into the full prep roundup, and we'll wrap things up with some wrestling action. So we're going to start out with basketball, moving along to the wrestling. So let's get it rock and rolling with our games of the week on the girls' side. First, we have Browning and Ronan, who went at it in overtime. Speaking of Ronan, with Browning taking home a 68-62 win. Kelsey Connolly scored 20 points, including 10 in overtime, and Browning held off Northwest AFO Ronan to stay unbeaten. Browning, this girls' basketball team has been rolling. Amari Kaff-Robe scored 8 of her 15 points in the extra period as well, while the Lady Indians and host Maidens combined for 34 points in 4 minutes. That is an explosive overtime period. 4 minutes, 34 points, letting it rip and making a lot of shots. Olivia Reiner led Ronan with 14 points, 12 of those coming after halftime. So overall, just a great game there. Let's move it on to our next game of the week. Saturday, that game was Saturday. This one's also Saturday. We had Polson and Columbia Falls, also an overtime clash, with Polson coming out on top 63-59. Mia Hawk of Polson scored 17 points to lead 4 Polson players in double figures, and the host Pirates pushed past Columbia Falls 63-59. Samantha Rensfold contributed 10 off the bench for Polson, including a 3-pointer and 2 free throws in overtime. Overall, just a great game there. 2 squads that I've had the opportunity to watch, not play each other, play separately. Very well-coached teams, play hard till the last possession. 2 teams that are going to be making noise when the state tournament comes around, both Polson and Columbia Falls Wildcats, girls basketball teams, solid squads. Last up, we have the Flathead Bravettes, and they had a real battle with the Hellgate Knights on Saturday. Here's a recap from Fritz Neighbor of the Daily Interlake. The recap was condensed a little bit for the show, so make sure to check out that full version on thedailyinterlake.com. Kennedy Moore went to her signature move, and the Flathead Bravettes got a signature win. Moore, Flathead 6'2" junior, rebounded a miss by Maddie Moy and flipped in a reverse layup at the buzzer to give the Bravettes a 49-48 win over Missoula Hellgate Saturday afternoon. The shot looked a lot like the one she hit to beat Billings West at last year's state tournament, except this was in Flathead's gym, where Moore was swarmed afterwards. As soon as she got it under the hoop, I knew what she was going to do, said Flathead head coach Sam Tudor, and I knew it had a good chance to go in. Moore had 18 points, and Avery Schoenard hit 5 3-pointers and added 17 for Flathead, which improved to 8-3 and 5-2 in Western AA play. Flathead was able to get both 6'6" Hellgate senior Alex Colville and guard Chloe Larson in foul trouble for one. And for another, the Bravettes' pressure defense got the Knights off balance. Akila Kubi had 9 points and 10 boards and took the ball at Colville several times. She scored twice in the second quarter, while Schoenard hit 2 3-pointers, and Flathead closed a 10-point gap to 27-24 at intermission. This was new since Colville arrived at the scene. Flathead had never scored more than 28 points against the Knights. Here's a quote from Moore. They were on a 7-game win streak. Moore said of the Knights, we kind of flipped the whole state around. Coach Tudor added, we needed it. We've been struggling, but we're a gritty bunch, and we know it. I was just happy for the seniors. They were just not going to give up, and they never gave up. That was neat. That was from Tudor as well. Colville had 12 points and 11 boards and blocked 6 shots for the Knights, who had won 10 straight over Flathead dating back to 2019. So overall, huge win for the Flathead Bravettes. You pick up a win over a team you haven't beat in a couple years. That's a good feeling, gearing up for the playoff run. They're going to be a tough team that you're probably going to see down the stretch, and now you have that win in the back pocket. That's a big win for the Bravettes. Another clutch performance from them. As for the boys, we had one game of the week. We have Big Sky and Glacier Tuesday night in Missoula as the Wolfpack just missed pulling off a buzzer beater and took home the loss. They almost won it on a buzzer beater. Missoula Big Skies, Josiah Quarsamai, I just botched that name, scored 14 points, 9 down the stretch as the Eagles rallied in the fourth quarter to beat Glacier 50-49 in Western AA boys basketball. Isaiah Reed added 10 points for Big Sky, which trailed 42-32 going into the final period. The Eagles missed a free throw at the end, giving Glacier a chance to win it. Tyler McDonald had a mid-range jumper opportunity that went long. Cohen Castelis went for the putback, and it came up just after the buzzer. Adam Nakunin hit 2 3-pointers and led the Wolfpack with 11 points on the night. So overall, not the results you want from Glacier. Tough loss, but gearing up for the playoff stretch, sometimes those tough losses are the ones you learn from the most, so they'll have that opportunity. All right, let's dive into the rest of our prep roundup to see how our local schools fared this week. Before we get into the rest of that prep roundup, let's get to we're going to get to some Cat Griz talk, but we do have a quick message from the team at Nomad. At Nomad, the key to our success has always been the amazing talent and experience of our team. Based on one of the most beautiful places on earth, our Kalispell, Montana headquarters is home to some of the most skilled engineers, integrators, software developers, welders, electricians, carpenters, mechanics, and professional staff in the market. Our team is dedicated to working collaboratively with our valued clients to ensure success in every mission. Join our team. Check out our careers page at nomadgcs.com/careers to view current job openings and submit an application. That's nomadgcs.com/careers. Go check that out. And reminder, as we get in all these prep recaps, you can go check those out on the dailyinterlake.com, or I would go grab a Sunday edition of the Daily Interlake. You usually have all the prep action in there. So let's run through some prep action from last week. Starting with the basketball, we'll get to the wrestling, and then we'll get to those prep players of the week. Okay. Always fun stuff. Starting out Tuesday, Whitefish picked up a 56-40 win over Stillwater Christian. Whitefish's Brooke Roberts hit 3 3-pointers and finished with 21 points to lead Whitefish in the non-conference win. Glacier picked up a Glacier fell 38-21 on Tuesday. The Vows were too much for Columbia Falls in a cross-conference play here with the Vows playing up a notch with Big Fork taking home the win over Columbia Falls 58-26. Braden Gunlock scored 14 to lead a balanced attack for Big Fork, whose basketball team on the girls' side is absolutely rolling right now. So, all right, Polson, this was almost a game of the week, but they had another game that made it in there, so we split it up. But Polson took home a 55-54 win over Mission. Polson's Mia Hawk scored 12 of her game-high 25 points in the fourth quarter as the Pirates rallied for a non-conference win over Mission Tuesday. On to Thursday, Bravettes, they picked up a 50-45 win over Big Sky. Kendi Moore and Avery Schoenard, the duo, was back at it again. Moore had 18, Schoenard had 16, and they won 50-45. Both Moore and Schoenard hit 3-pointers in the final 8 minutes as Flathead broke away from a 38-38 tie. So overall, another big one for Flathead, who is finding their stride at the right time. Hellgate got a 52-36 win over Glacier. Alex Koval, who we mentioned earlier, had 17 points. Chloe Larson chipped in 14, and Missoula Hellgate pulled away in the third quarter. Noah Fincher scored 11 to lead the Wolfpack. Browning, the Lady Indians continue to roll as they are unbeaten in Northwest A basketball. They won 54-17 over Whitefish. Columbia Falls took home a 46-36 win over Polson. Hope McAtee scored 17 points, 15 of those after halftime, for Columbia Falls to pull away from Northwest A foe Polson. That's a big second half there. Friday, Ronan took home a 45-23 win over Libby. Olivia Heiner hit 2 early three-pointers and finished with 13 points total as Ronan's balanced offense put away Libby. All right, Saturday, our last girls game, we'll get into the boys. Peyton Gunlock hit 4 3-pointers for Big Fork, finishing with 20 total points as the Big Fork Valkyries blew open the game after halftime for a 68-33 win. You know what's funny? I don't actually have on here who they beat, which I should. But at the end of the day, Big Fork girls, they are rolling. They won 68-33. The bigger point, they're unbeaten, and they're getting deep into the season. You start looking at the state tournament, you start looking at momentum, you start going, this team has a real chance to make a run to win it all and probably not lose very much on the way. So with the boys, get to these last couple scores and get into the wrestling action. Big Fork took home a 63-48 win over Columbia Falls Tuesday. Isaac Epperly poured in 25 points in the Big Fork Vikings top Columbia Falls in intra-conference basketball play. Big Fork currently Class B. Next year they will be a Class A school. Seems like they're going to make the jump to Class A and jump right into the contender conversation. Thursday, Columbia Falls took home a 63-48 win over Polson. Jace Hill scored 15 points to lead 3 Columbia Falls players in double figures, and the Wildcats made hay in the second and fourth quarters of this Northwest A battle. Also Thursday, the Flathead Valley Homeschool and Stillwater Christian went at it. Michael Bartell scored 25 points. Sam Hoback hit a pair of fourth quarter three-pointers, and Flathead Valley Homeschool rallied to beat Stillwater Christian 63-60 in overtime. The Glacier boys fell short Thursday despite a big fourth quarter rally as the Hellgate Knights stormed to a 27-11 lead at the Wolf Den through 2 quarters. Just too much of a deficit for Glacier to come back. Cohen Kaslitz, Noah Dowler, and Ty Olson all finished with 12 for Glacier, who ultimately fell 49-41 on the day. Big Sky pulled away from Flathead on Thursday behind a barrage of 8 3-pointers in 8 minutes down the stretch. Josh Eagleton led Flathead with 12 points on the night, and Noah Cummings added 11. All right, Saturday, the last of our boys basketball action for the week. Jace Hill scored 21 points, and Columbia Falls pulled away over the final 5 minutes Saturday to beat Northwest A rival Polson once again in the week, 64-48. Missoula Loyola picked up a 48-37 win over the Big Fork boys, who previously were rolling. Ethan Stack scored 17 points, and Missoula Loyola pulled away from the Big Fork for a non-conference win. Isaac Epperly hit 3 3-pointers and tied Nick Walker for a team-high 13 points for Big Fork, who is now 11-3 on the season. The Browning boys took home a 67-54 win over Ronan. Maurice Redhorn III and Brady's Field scored 18 points to each, lead Browning to this Northwest A win. Browning boys are a tough team to play. Had the opportunity to watch them versus Columbia Falls earlier this year, and they just put the pressure on teams, and ultimately that usually leads to good things. When you're the one saying go, you're the one making the other team feel your pressure. It's a good thing in prep basketball. Ronan's Colby Finley did finish with tied for a game-high scoring honors, 18 on the day. So let's move it on. Our last game from over the weekend, then we're going to get to wrestling. Hellgate pulls off a late Flathead push to win 54-43. The Hellgate Knights jumped out to an 11-0 lead in the first quarter and never looked back as they beat the Flathead Braves 54-43 in a clash of Western AA foes Saturday. Leo Filardi was the top scorer for the Knights with 13 points after hitting 3 3-pointers. Flathead's Noah Cummings finished with a game-high 17. I will say there's a great feature on the dailyinterlake.com right now about Noah Cummings and his basketball journey. Sky's the limit for his game right now. 6'5", 6'6". Big man with guard skills, kicking absolutely. He's a walking bucket type of guy, can just flat out score the basketball. Great read by Fritz Neighbor on the dailyinterlake.com. Shout out Fritz for the article. Shout out Noah Cummings for the stellar play. That one's worth checking out. As for our wrestling action over the weekend, let's dive into that. The Glacier wrestling team split a pair of duels in Helena Friday and topped Missoula Sentinel on Saturday at home. Glacier won 39-25 over Sentinel with pins from Tegan Vasquez, Aiden Chamberlain, Colin Koo, and decisions from Seth Doolin and Mark Ainer. Vasquez got a pair of pins Friday as well as Glacier beat Helena High and lost to Capital. Ainer, Chamberlain, and Colton Verjont and Nico Coles also got pins against Helena. As for the Brave Brawlers, another big weekend for the wrestling squad at Flathead. The senior day was a breeze for the Flathead Brave Brawlers, who won all but one match Saturday against Missoula Sentinel to roll up a 69-2 wrestling victory at the Boyle Gym. The victory, combined with the dominant sweep of the Helena Schools on Friday, puts the Brawlers' dual record at 16-0. Going back to 2020, they've won 56 straight duels. That's remarkable. 56 straight duels. Today was bittersweet, Flathead head coach Jeff Thompson said. It's always exciting to get your last match at home and get a win. We've spent so much time with these seniors. A lot of them, I've been taking them around the country since they were 5 years old. Saturday's boys' duels ended with Forrest House staying up off the mat to beat Sentinel's Braden Walls. It was just his second match of the season for Hal. He needed 46 seconds to land a pin on his Helena High opponent Friday. Hal is a senior who's been recovering from ACL surgery. Seniors Noah Powhatan and Gabe Lake also won by fall Saturday. And let's see, Lake did win a marquee match against Capital's Cole Graham 4-2. The Bruins had ranked wrestlers at 170 and 182, but Flathead's Anders Thompson and Powhatan both took home wins over the ranked opponents. So Flathead was supposed to wrestle Butte Saturday as well, but due to conditions with the road, Butte did make the trip. Flathead's next action will be in Butte at the Western AA Divisionals Friday and Saturday, and then after that is all-class state wrestling tournament coming up quick. So before we know it, it's about that time, state wrestling action. So as for the Glacier girls, Sentinel girls didn't field the full team Saturday, and Butte elected not to make the trip because of the road conditions we just mentioned. So not too much action for the Glacier girls. On Friday, they did visit Helena High and tie 6-6 in a duel that ended up with just two matches. Temery Payne Taylor notched the pin at 100 pounds for the Wolfpack on the day. Helena Capital top Glacier 24-15 this weekend as well, but the duel featured Payne Taylor winning a decision. So solid weekend for Temery Payne Taylor for the Glacier Wolfpack. Not a ton of action other than that. All right, let's get it rocking and rolling into your Prep Players of the Week presented by Hagadone Media Group Montana. The team in Montana is here to help you grow. Our skill team will assess your marketing goals and craft ROI-focused campaigns honed to meet your business needs. Our integrated marketing solutions will help your people find you wherever they are looking, whether it's Google, YouTube, apps, or your local newspaper. Contact Anton at 406-758-4410 for more information. That's 406-758-4410 for more information. All right, let's roll into those Hagadone Media Group Montana Prep Players of the Week. First up, we just mentioned them a litlittle bit ago, Flathead Bravettes basketball duo Candy Moore and Avery Schoenard for their clutch play over the weekend. The Bravettes duo played a huge role in the team's success last Thursday and Saturday. Candy Moore finished with 18 and Avery Schoenard dropped 16 as the Bravettes beat Missoula Big Sky Thursday. On Saturday, they followed that up with two more big performances and a winning effort. Moore hit a game-winning buzzer beater to send Flathead over Missoula. And that one, hitting 5 3-pointers on her way to 17 points. The Bravettes are just a solid basketball team. So many different players who can make an impact. And there's no doubt Moore and Schoenard are a big reason why this team is such a well-oiled machine. Excited to see how they fare in the state tournament action down the stretch. Keeping it with the Flathead theme here, Flathead boys wrestling. Forrest Howell. Look, you could have picked a variety of Flathead wrestlers for the recent success, but Howell's story stood out to me. On Saturday, like I mentioned, the Flathead boys duel ended with the Brave Brawlers Forrest Howell staying up and off the mat to beat Sentinel's Braden Wallace. Like I said, it was his second match of the season, and then on Friday, he needed just 46 seconds to land a pin. Bigger part of the story, he's a senior, he's recovering from ACL surgery. These were just his two matches of the year. And I love the quote from Jeff Thompson, the head coach. We wanted to make sure we put him on the mat that he was ready to go, Thompson said. Overall, we're just so excited for him to be able to wrestle his senior year. And with the crowd today and his teammates, it just gives you goosebumps to watch that today. End quote. Just like I said, awesome stuff for the senior to come back from injury, get the opportunity to compete with his teammates in front of the crowd. And not only did he get the opportunity, he ran with it. He picked up a pin. He got another win. So overall, that's what sports are all about. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to get knocked back. And major kudos to Hal for pushing to come back and make it back on the mat his senior year, because that's a tough injury and it would be easy to just say, I'm okay. I'm going to hang him up. But nope, he made the comeback, got the wins, and that's something you're always going to remember and cherish. And like Coach Thompson said, just awesome stuff. So last up is Jace Hill, the Columbia Falls boys basketball team. We mentioned Hill a couple times in that prep roundup. Hill had back-to-back games for the Wildcats last week that were huge, leading the team to back-to-back wins over Polso Thursday and Saturday. Hill finished with 15 points Thursday and 21 Saturday to lead the Wildcats in scoring both games. I had the opportunity to watch the Wildcats play a few times this year. And Hill's just that guy. He's right in the middle of it. The team's very comfortable with the ball in his hands. Playmaker, knows how to get his guys in a position to get a good shot. Just one of those guys who, like I kind of said about Moore and Chouinard, Flathead's going to be a tough team to beat down the stretch, and they're going to be right in the middle of it. Columbia Falls, they got a really nice core of players, multiple people who could beat you, but Hill is going to be the one right in the middle of it, making that ship go. So those were your prep players of the week presented by Hagadone Media Group Montana. The team in Montana is here to help you grow. Our skilled team will assess your marketing goals and craft ROI-focused campaigns to meet your business needs. Our integrated marketing solutions will help your people find you wherever they are looking, whether it's Google, YouTube, apps, or the local newspaper. Contact Anton at 406-758-4410 for more information. That's 406-758-4410 for more information. I almost started combining the phone number and the more information there into one. I got a little pumped up. Let's move right into this Grizzlies coaching news, and then we'll wrap this show up. Last week was a long, jam-packed, lengthy show. This week's a little bit more speedy, but with state tournament action and Griz off-season stuff ramping up, Griz and Bobcats, we're definitely going to have a lot to talk about the next couple of weeks. So let's get into that Griz coaching news. The Grizzlies defensive staff is going to have a new look next season as the University of Montana defensive coordinator and linebacker coach Kent Baer and defensive line coach Barry Sachs both announced they were stepping down last week from their coaching roles. The duo has over 100 years of combined coaching experience, and here's a quote from Coach Houck. So both Coach Baer and Coach Sachs have done a tremendous job coaching here at Montana, said Coach Houck. We're sad to see them step away from the program and the game, but also pleased they're getting to do what they want to do and need to do. They're both great men and great mentors to the young men and people on our team. It will be hard to replace two veteran coaches with so much knowledge, but it will be even more difficult to replace good friends and colleagues on our staff. Baer was a defensive coordinator for 9 different FBS programs and served as the interim head coach at Notre Dame. As for Sachs, he was the University of Montana alumni and 4-year letterman on the Grizzly football team from 1976 to 1979. Sachs had this to say about his time with the Griz as a coach. I'm so extremely thankful Coach Houck gave me the opportunity to come back and coach football at my alma mater. It's been a dream come true. I can't thank him enough for providing such an incredible work experience with such incredible football players, student athletes, and coaches. It was so much fun and a great challenge to coach at the flagship program in FCS football. Montana will name replacements for Baer and Sachs on the Grizzly coaching staff in the near future. All right, that's a big change right there for the Grizzlies. I know there was rumblings in the Grizzlies community with their fans and Twitter nation of the Grizzlies who were not always entirely happy with some of the defensive moves and adjustments last year in scheme. So although historically that defense has had a lot of success, and you wish nothing but you wish Baer and Sachs nothing but the best in retirement and on the next journey of their life, there is some excitement about the opportunity for a new scheme and a new regime to come in there on the defensive side of the ball. That defense had a lot of success last year. They were in a tough position a lot of the year, playing from behind, playing with injuries on offense. The defense definitely carried the load. So big shout out to both Coach Baer and Coach Sachs on their success, but it will be exciting to see which direction the Grizzlies go moving forward, without a doubt. And do they kind of move away from that 3-3-5 defensive scheme that they've been known to run the last couple years, or do they keep rocking and rolling with that and just kind of put some new faces in with the same scheme? We'll figure out more about that. I'm going to have a little Grizzlies/Bobcats off-season show coming up probably later this week. Record it, have it ready for you guys next week. We'll get into all that fun stuff. So, all right, everyone. I think that's going to do it for this one. Before we wrap this thing up, I want to give a special thanks to Hagadone Media Group Montana for their support and remind everyone listening that this episode was brought to you by Nomad, voted the Flathead's best manufacturer. Nomad is a longtime supporter of the local community and sports scene, celebrating 20 years of building great careers and mission-focused custom vehicles. Nomad, a Montana-based company making a global impact. Nomad has worked with NASA and various branches of the United States military, so Nomad is a name you can trust with your manufacturing needs. For more info, visit nomadgcs.com. I repeat, nomadgcs.com. That'll do it for today. Thanks again to the Flathead's best manufacturer, Nomad, and Hagadone Media Group Montana. Next week's episode, we're going to dive back into that Cat Griz basketball, kind of really see where the Big Sky Conference is at as far as the hoops go. As always, we'll dive into how our area schools are doing in the prep rankings, gearing up for state action. It's getting close. And keep an eye out for that Griz/Cats off-season football special. That's going to be a fun one. Going to dive into a lot of action with that one. So thanks as always, y'all. I'm Josh Dugan, and that'll do it for this week's episode of the Interlake Sports Now. Have a great week.